Hi everyone, in this video I will share with you something that I was fortunate enough to be able to document. What happened is, a few months ago, me and Joel Black were filming for some of the things we were doing for the UK Blade Show, and cut the story short, we sat down during one of the breaks and he ended up just polishing his Kiridashi while he was, again, you know, just having a break from the filming that we were doing. And we ended up having a lovely conversation about his journey into knife making, whetstone polishing, a lot of information about whetstone polishing. I'm just very delighted to be sharing this information with you guys. I've created it into a two-part series because it's quite a long video about a singular topic, but it's going to be amazing. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And again, don't forget to comment below if you've got any questions. Enjoy.
Again, back in the day when I was chefing, I liked having sharp knives. I liked it. They're more useful when they're sharp to start with. They're actually loads easier to use, and having a sharp knife, actually the food lasts longer if you've cut something with a sharp knife because you're not damaging cells as you pass through them. You get a cleaner cut, you get to like present loads of stuff slightly better than you should or you would with a blunt knife basically. You know, try chopping up a bunch of chives with a blunt knife, it's just not going to work. So I had, you know, throughout my catering career, I've always had a few Wetstones, a few of these, a few of those. In fact, I think I've had a king Whetstone years, like, you know, years and years and years ago, but I never really looked after them. I always had a couple kicking about that would do the job that I wanted them to do, but they wouldn't do much more. When I came around to actually starting to make knives, I wanted to make really sharp knives, and to get a knife sharp, as I've talked about before, you know, you need to have intersecting planes which are polished. So the problem with sharpening stuff on belts and things that are moving quite fast, you can pop an edge down very, very quickly, you can polish it up very, very quickly, but to get a very, very refined edge and to keep it cool, which is really important when you're sharpening, so like if you're using a bench grinder or a belt grinder or anything like that, for sharpening, then you're going to be heating up the steel more than you want to, and you're going to be softening the steel. When it comes to my fascination with them, I think there's the selection of stones I've got here. I mean, these are all synthetic. We've got synthetics ranging from like 120 grits through 400s, through 1000, through 4000, 5000, 3000, 6000, 10,000, 13, the big round Nagura stones, diamond stones. This is like a whetstone, it's like a sandpaper whetstone basically. So you put wet and dry paper in it, clip it taut. It's a really good way of pre-polishing or getting bevels and things flat. You can use coarse grits and replace the paper easy, which means less flattening. These are all natural stones, but this is one that I fit to a potter's wheel. These are Welsh slate, so these are slate from Wales, which are great for homes, but we've got a 10,000, a 12,000, a 15,000. One of them is called Dragon's Tongue, which is really cool. And they're all from the hills, like around Wales, so around Snowdon and around various places. This is a Belgian blue cortical, which is, or something like that, which has got a lot of garnet in it. So it's a very hard stone, which is quite scratchy sometimes, but if you use it well, you can get ridiculous edges on things. People use these for razors. These ones are, there's a blue Dalmore over there, which is a Scottish stone. And these ones are all bits of Japanese stone, sort of more coarse sandstone sort of things, through to more refined, very, very fine bits of rock from certain mines and certain places in Japan, certain mountains and things. When it comes to the difference between synthetic stones are bound up in different mediums. So you've got either, you know, you've got resin bonds, you've got basically a whole bunch of different substrates that the grit's held in, and the grit in a synthetic stone is all completely uniform. So you've got a 400 grit stone has got 400 grit particles in it. Now each different manufacturer might have slightly different size particles. They might be different mediums, so they might be different types of particle, and they're all going to cut slightly differently. So one of them going to have aluminium oxide in it, one of them's going to have some cobalt in it, one of them's going to have something else in it, and they're all designed to behave slightly differently. So they're all very uniform and do a very good, efficient job of sharpening and polishing in a very uniform way. Some of them are harder, some of them are softer. The softer the stone, the quicker the abrasive on the surface is replenished, so it cuts faster, but the expense of it dishing quickly, so it hollows out fast. The harder the stone, the less it dishes, but the more it tends to glaze, which is when you get the metal particles in the surface of the stone. So then you have to clean that off, and you can clean that off using Naguras, you can clean it off using diamond plates, you can use all sorts of stuff, but there's a big difference between synthetic stones and natural stones with the way that the particles break down. So synthetic stones have particles that are a set size and they don't break down, and so you've got 400 grits to 400 grit done. When it comes to natural stones, the softer natural stones and some of the sandstones, some of the other bits and pieces, the way the stone works is as you work the stone, the particles of stone break off and form a slurry, and as you work the slurry, that slurry gets mixed with the swarf from the steel that you're rubbing on the stone. So if you're rubbing, if I'm, like using this swarf here, that's all a mixture between the stone particles and the steel, which is coming off the knife or the tool or whatever I'm polishing. So as I work it, you go from a coarser grain through to a finer grain. So a lot of these whetstones have got ranges. So one of them will be like, oh, it's a 1,000 grit to a 3,000 grit, or a 6,000 to a 10,000, or and when you start working on it, it'll be coarser, and then as you finish working on it, it'll be finer.
I hope you're enjoying the video so far, and if you are, then you need to know about our sponsors who made this video possible. We have multi-tool products who do the 84 engineering belt grinders, Clark Knives, who are a 3-generation family-run business who offer stock removal Damascus billets, but also offer professional heat treatment service for all types of knives. And GFS Knife Supplies. They are a one-stop shop for all your knife making consumables. GFS is a small family-run business and some of the quickest deliveries for your knife making needs, including but not limited to handle material, wood G10 liners and pins, the rock blade heat kilns, quenching oil for hardening knives, abrasive belts that can cut through hardened steel, and of course the steel stock that you use for making knives. Have a look at the brand new things that these guys have to offer by clicking the links in the description, and at the same time it's a little thank you to them for sponsoring these videos.
And you can mix stones up as well, so in a kind of weird sort of sharpening alchemy. If I took, usually it's with the harder stones actually, so you've got these things here called Nagura Stones. So the Nagura are for creating a slurry. So this slurry here is partly Nagura, partly steel, partly Uchimaguri. So you've got a little bit of everything in there, and as that breaks down, and these are all different finenesses as well, so these are all from very specific mines in Japan. Some of them you can't get hold of anymore, so there's this really, I quite like the history of it, and the way that, like I say, we've got slate here from Wales, which has been mined from specific places, which the dude who digs these and cleans these up, his dad taught him where to get them from, because that's what he used to do. And it's exactly the same in Japan. There's different seams and different strata of rock in different mines that have got different properties that do different things to different steels. And if you can marry the right steel up with the right brick, or the right stone rather, I call them bricks because I'm an idiot, then you can get really, really good results and really fast results quickly. It's one of those interesting things, because there's a lot of subtlety in polishing which has taken me a long time to work out, and I'm still working it out. I'm still practicing. I've been making knives for a while now, sharpening knives for ages. For my entire chefing career I've been sharpening knives, because knives need sharpening. If you ever get a knife and someone says, "Alright, so it'll never need sharpening," then just don't buy that knife, because it will. They've got heritage basically, these. Whether you've got stones that have been dug out of certain mines for generations by a certain group of people, or a certain family, or a certain business. And some of these stones are better quality, some are lesser quality. Some of the expensive ones are really, really high quality, but quite rare and difficult to get hold of. Some of the cheaper ones tend to be coarser and have imperfections. But then if you want to get a very, very particular fine finish, you have to have, well, you don't have to, but like the cleaner the stone, the less imperfections, the better a finish you'll get. Like this one's called an Uchimaguri. There's like some little seams of rust and stuff which run through it from iron oxides and things, or from iron ore, probably magnetite ore and stuff like that, which is fine, but you have to pick them out, otherwise they scratch the blade. The same with some of the other things. If you've got a little seam or something that goes across something, then it doesn't look quite the same. You end up with a scratch, and you can feel the scratch, and because it's such a smooth stone, you can feel grit getting in between the stone and the steel, which is a horrible, like I say, it's a horrible feeling, because you've just done bad things to something you've been working on for ages. Yeah, and the other thing that's bad about that is you can feel it, you can hear it, and you've spent ages not just sharpening your knife, your kiridashi, whatever you've got. This slurry is as important as the stone. So you've spent ages working up a slurry and building the slurry and breaking the slurry down and getting the slurry finer and finer, and then you can feel and hear a bit of grit in there, which means you've just got to get rid of that slurry most of the time, because that might be contaminated with something that's coarser than what you want.
Thank you everyone, I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget there's a second part for this, so if you enjoyed this first one, make sure you click the subscribe button and hit that thumbs up as well, so that you'll get to see the next video. See you again soon.